Hey everyone, thanks for checking out Ozark Overland Adventures. I'm Matt, and today I want to give you a walk around of my 2012 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon. And also want to talk about why I think the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon is the best overlanding vehicle. Let me start by saying, by no means do I think my Jeep is set up something really unique. Honestly, I think my Jeep is set up kind of normal, kind of average, but it works incredibly well. I've got a 2.5-inch lift that's kind of a Franken lift, meaning I've got different parts from different companies. My shocks and springs are Skyjacker, and I know some of you right now are going, ugh, Skyjacker. And yeah, Skyjacker. Skyjacker definitely makes some low-end stuff, but they also make some higher-end stuff. And I started out with their low-end stuff, and the ride quality was kind of harsh, but over the years, I've migrated into their higher-end stuff, and I absolutely love the way my Jeep rides and drives right now. About 2 years ago, I switched from their standard springs to their 2.5-inch progressive coil springs, and those have been a game changer in the ride quality. For shocks, I'm running the Skyjacker M95 monotube shocks, and so far I've been really impressed with these. I've been running these for, I don't know, 5 years now, and have zero complaints on these things. And that spring and shock combo work incredibly well. They give me really good flex, give me excellent ride quality, and it's super comfortable on the road. I've also got a Synergy adjustable front track bar to keep my axles centered on the Jeep. And for the control arms, I've replaced all 4 control arms with rock crawler adjustable control arms. And honestly, I would say that is people's #1 mistake in lifting their Jeep and skipping that step and then complaining about the ride quality. Even if you just lift your Jeep 2.5 inches, you still need to replace those factory control arms so that you can adjust your caster and dial your Jeep back into that factory geometry to give you the best ride quality. If you've got a 2.5-inch lift kit or higher and you hit a bump and your Jeep's darting all over the road, or you hit a certain patch in the road and you feel it tugging one way or the other, that's because your caster's off. Even with a small lift, you still need either longer control arms that are set to the appropriate length to make that adjustment for you, or get adjustable control arms and dial it in yourself. That alone makes the biggest difference on your ride quality on your Jeep. For tires, I've got the Milestar Patagonia MTs in the 315/70 R17, which is basically a 35/1250. I've got them on the factory wheels, and I love this combination. The reason I'm running the factory wheels is, one, they're 7.5 inches wide, and I have found that they clamp onto the bead incredibly well. A lot of people say you shouldn't run 12.5-inch wide tires on 7.5-inch wheels. I wholeheartedly disagree with that based on my firsthand experience with this setup. I have aired down to below 10 PSI at off-road parks and stuff before and have never had an issue. And I like the factory wheels. One, I just like the looks of them. I think it's a good looking wheel. Two, I honestly haven't found an aftermarket wheel that I like as much as these. You get into issues with a lot of aftermarket wheels having more and thinner spokes than these have, and that creates awesome places for mud and clay to get stuck into and dry in there, and then when you're running down the highway, it's all off balance and your Jeep vibrates. I've never had an issue with these. Since I am running 12.5-inch wide tires on the factory wheels, I am running 1.5-inch spacers. I've had these things on here for so long, I honestly don't remember the brand. I think they're Synergy, but any good name brand wheel spacer will serve you well. As far as the Patagonias go, I see a lot of mixed reviews on these. A lot of people hate them just because they're so cheap. A lot of people have no experience with them and still hate on them. These are the best tires that I have ever used on my Jeep. And I have run Nitto Trail Grapplers, I've run Toyo MTs, I've run Mastercraft Corsair MXTs. My wife has run the Toyo Open Country RTs on her last Wrangler. And of all the tires that we've run, these are hands down my favorite. They grip incredibly well off-road. And I have wheeled these all over the Ozarks in some nasty mud, some slick clay. I wheeled them all over Colorado, and I wheeled them in Moab on the Slick Rock and in New Mexico, and have never had an issue with these tires off-road. They also perform incredibly well on-road. This is my daily driver, so I'm driving this in the rain, on the highways, city streets. They do a really good job in the wet. In Arkansas, we don't have a lot of snow, so I haven't had any major experience with this in snow, I'll give you that. And since they are a softer compound, that's what makes it perform well off-road. but the tread life is not as good as you're gonna find in other tires. That softer compound does wear quicker than some other tires. Now, I've got over 20,000 miles on these. I suspect I will get at least another 10K on them, and I think 30,000 miles is pretty darn good for a mud tire, especially at this price point. One thing I will say is they do wear fast at the beginning. They start with a 19-30 seconds initial tread depth, and I did see them in that first 10,000 miles wear down to 12, 11, 30 seconds, which seems pretty fast. It's almost half the life of the tire. But in the last 10,000 miles, they've stayed there. And I've seen a lot of people say the same things. They wear fast and then they level off. And I am super happy with these. When it's time to replace these next year, I'm getting another set. Underneath the Jeep, I've got the factory skid plates. They have served me well. The only thing I would like to add to it is an oil pan skid. That's the only thing that is missing. But so far, I haven't had an issue with that. And the factory skid plates, they're solid. They work great. Never had any issues with them. So I'm gonna keep running them. There's no reason to throw money at something that works great. Drive shafts. I am still running the factory drive shafts on my rig. Now, I have gone through a couple of them, but they're super cheap to find, and I have replaced the Resepa joint at the transfer case on the front with a TerraFlex high angle Resepa joint. I busted my Resepa joint and had to replace it. Started looking into drive shafts. You know, they're $400, $500, $600, and I didn't have that kind of money at the time. Found that TerraFlex high angle kit and used it, and so far it's been great. But there's a lot of people that have replaced their factory drive shafts, and it's easy to find them for cheap or for free. I've currently got 2 spares sitting in, one in my garage, one up in my attic. So in case this ever fails me, I've got backup. Still running the factory Rubicon rails, and I've got the Ace Engineering rock sliders underneath them. I really like this combo because it gives you a lot of protection. You've not only got the Rubicon rails protecting this area up here, but you've got the Ace sliders providing you just an additional layer of protection and providing a kick-out bar for slamming into trees, slamming into rocks. As you can see, I've got scratches all up and down this thing. This whole scratch right here is from a nice, fun little trip up Hell's Gate in Moab, Utah on Hell's Revenge Trail. That slider saved my butt. I'll put a link to that video right here and go check it out. It's quite humorous. My first time up Hell's Gate all alone. But I love this combination, and it has served me well. I've beat the crap out of these sliders. Moving around up front, I've got the Poison Spider Brawler stubby front bumper. And I've had this thing 6 years maybe, and this thing has been a beast. This bumper has performed incredibly well, and I love it. I like the stubby aspect of it. Gives you more room to get your tires up on obstacles. I have got a Warn VR10S winch on the front. Just inherited this from my wife's Jeep. Since she got rid of her Wrangler, I took this off and put it on mine, and very solid winch. No complaints there. Factor 55 flat link D-rings. As far as lighting goes, I have no clue what the brand of these lights are. They came from Amazon. So far, they performed very well. I've had these things for years. I've got a 12-inch bar on the front. I've got the 2-inch cubes pointing out at an angle just to fill in the sides. I do wheel a lot at night, and I'm typically the leader when I'm out at night. So having that extra visibility, it sucks when you're on a night run and you miss the turnoff for the trail, and you got to tell everybody to back up. So this helps me not miss those trails. What else up front? Headlights. The headlights come from Night Sun 4x4. I've also had these for years. No complaints. Super bright. Love them. They're only like 150 bucks for the pair. Just replaced my hood latches. The factory hood latches over time do tend to soften up and stretch out. If you're running on the highways and have semis passing you, and you've seen your hood look like it's about to come up and hit you, then it's time to get new hood latches. These are just some JL style hood latches that I got off Amazon. So far, no issues. Really like them. Moving up on the Jeep, we've got the Rugged Ridge snorkel with the low profile mount attached to it. I do have the longer mount. I just don't see any use for it. I really like this look. A lot of people ask me why I don't have a snorkel, and I do. Now, to be honest, this thing is a pain in the butt to install. On my last Jeep, I had the ARB style snorkel that comes out of the hood here and runs down and up. I like that look a lot better, but I've got a friend who used to own an off-road shop and he could sell these. He couldn't sell the ARB, and he and I worked out a good deal on these. And so that's why I have the Rugged Ridge. I figure if I get in water deep enough to mess up my engine with this intake, then I've got bigger issues to deal with than just this. So I don't ever plan on being in water this deep. But if you've seen in my videos, I have had water come over the hood, and where the factory intake is, that would have been an issue. So really happy with this. I just wish it wasn't a big pain in the butt to install. Up here, another set of cubes in a spot pattern. Again, no idea what brand, bought them off Amazon. I see no reason to pay a stupid amount of money for lights, but these have served me well. I've also got these turned out at an angle just to get more fill over here on the sides. And I know I just said I see no reason to spend a stupid amount of money on lights. And right up here is the KC Highlights Gravity Pro 6 light bar. And that thing is ridiculously expensive. And there is one reason, and one reason alone, that I have this light bar on my Jeep. And that is because my wife, back when she was my girlfriend, had a ridiculous amount of money to spend on her Jeep, and she loved this light bar, and against my better advice, she bought it anyway. And it's a fantastic light bar, don't get me wrong. I mean, the build quality on this sucker is fantastic. The light output is fantastic. But when she had this on her Jeep and I had my $50 Amazon traditional light bar on my Jeep, there wasn't any major big difference in light output and, you know, beam pattern and all that sort of stuff. I was real happy with my 50-inch LED bar that I got off Amazon. But those traditional ones, they do have a lot of wind noise, so I did have to deal with that. And there's no wind noise with these. Just a little bit, but nothing like, no whistling sound or anything really annoying. But these Gravity Pro 6s, it's a fantastic product. It's just stupid expensive. The only reason it's on my Jeep is because it was a hand-me-down off of my wife's old Jeep, and I wasn't about to include that in the trade-in. The top. The top is an Off-Road Heroes soft top. I've had this for a number of years. It's starting to get worn. You can see I've got some duct tape patching this right here. I rubbed this on a tree and ripped some of this off, so it's kind of patched up there. But I love this soft top. The front part stays attached. It rolls up right here. The back panel comes completely off. The side panels and the back panel there come completely off, and so you can have a completely naked Jeep in no time. Moving to the back of the Jeep, as far as suspension goes, still running the factory links in the back. Haven't had any issues with those. No major geometry correction needed back there, so the factory control arms have served me well. Got the Rugged Ridge taillight guards on here. These have actually been amazing for me because in the Ozarks, you're running a lot of tight trees and stuff, and these have saved my taillight many a time. Love those. Like I said, taillights came from Amazon. This is a homemade fuel can carrier. Got a 5-gallon jerry can that fits right in here, cinch it up, and a friend of mine made this for me just real quick. And it is attached to the TerraFlex HD hinge carrier. Nothing super glamorous about it. I do like the fact that it has mounting points for something like this on it, but if you're going to run a larger than stock tire, especially a 35 or bigger on the JK factory hinges, don't do that. It'll definitely mess up your tailgate. You'll notice I don't run a bumper in the rear. I took the factory bumper off and have never looked back. Gives me a lot better departure angle. I like the look of it. I've got Evo D-ring mounts inside the frame for recovery purposes, and I like the look of it. On the spare tire, I've got the TerraFlex license plate relocation bracket. I just like the look of the license plate there in the spare tire. Got a little delete bracket here. I don't like that the license plate sits back here because of trees. I know a lot of people who have ripped their license plate off using the factory bracket, so I do like that. Little cubes in the back for some extra rear backup lights, or if I'm setting up camp and need lights in the back. Little cubes down here mounted on the bumper. They have served me well. Again, no clue what brand they are. They came from Amazon. Let's take a look at the inside and see what I've done in here. I've got the Midland MXT 400 40-watt GMRS radio that is paired up to a Midland handheld radio for when I'm out of the Jeep. I love that little double-decker setup there. I do have a holster for my gun. This is the switch for my rear lights. I've got the Rugged Ridge A-pillar light switch pod with just lights. I do have rock lights, bumper lights, windshield lights, light bar, and this is my what I call my fun switch. This is tied into the wire that disables all the traction control stuff. So if I'm in two-wheel, four-wheel, high, whatever, I can disable the traction control if I want to. We've got the Bulletproof Mounting Solutions phone and GoPro mount. Love that thing. Very similar to the 67 designs, but a whole lot cheaper. And I love this thing. It's served me incredibly well. Up top, I've got a speaker, external speaker for the radio, because I do like driving this thing around with the top off. And since it is a soft top, it is a little bit louder, and that just helps me hear all the more. Running to the top of the light bar is the antenna for the Midland. It's their Ghost antenna. I just mounted it to the light bar bracket up there. It has worked very well. As far as the back, in the back, I've got the Dometic CFX 55. Had this for about 4 years now. Absolutely love it. This thing has served me incredibly well. I never thought I would want a fridge until my wife, then girlfriend, bought me this for Christmas a few years ago, and can't imagine not having this fridge anymore. This is just a homemade shelf that I built to store one tote here. This is where I keep all my recovery gear and other some random camping supplies and stuff. Right here is a fire extinguisher. Always good to keep a fire extinguisher on board. And here is my Front Runner Outfitters tailgate table. I do very much like that. It is very handy having the fridge and everything. Making lunches real quick, or just if we've got a minimalist camp, a great place to cook and prepare meals and stuff. So, love that. I think that's it as far as the walk around goes. I mean, as you can see, there's nothing super crazy about this. I do think it is well built. I think it's got quality stuff on it. It has definitely served me well. But let's talk about why I chose the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon for overlanding. There's so many options out there when it comes to a rig for overlanding, and I think this is hands down the best option out there, at least for me. And here's why. Number one, this thing will go anywhere. It has solid axles, so it's got great articulation. I can keep all four tires on the ground a lot better than any other IFS rig can. And keeping all four tires on the ground means better traction. It's got lockers front and rear, so I've got that taken care of. It's super easy to modify this thing, and you can do it for a very reasonable price. 2.5-inch lift kit on a Jeep, a quality one, will run you $1,000 to $1,500. You can do it for a lot less, but it won't be quality, and it won't ride as well as this one does. You can modify a Jeep Wrangler so much cheaper than you can a 4Runner or a Tacoma or a Colorado ZR2 or most likely the new Bronco. To me, that makes a big difference. But this thing will absolutely, hands down, go anywhere. I love it. There's never been a place that I have wanted to take this thing that it hasn't taken me there. I prefer the more challenging aspects of overlanding. When I'm out and about, I want to take the most challenging trails possible, and this allows me to do that. The great thing about our channel is that we have mixed rigs on our trips. It's not just a Jeep channel. We've got Tacomas, we've got 4Runners, we've got Colorado ZR2s, we've got different generations of those vehicles. If you've watched our videos, you'll notice that everyone driving the Jeeps take all the challenging lines for fun, and all the ones driving, for the most part, IFS rigs, they take the bypasses. I don't want to take bypasses. I want to take the most challenging trails for fun. Yeah, I can get to the same destination not doing that, but it's all personal preference. I like being able to take the challenging trails. So that's reason number one. Let's talk about the second reason why I think the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon is the best off-road and overlanding vehicle, at least for me, is because it's comfortable. And I know that's going to shock you, but it is. Everyone's saying that a Jeep is uncomfortable. Either one, hasn't been in one since a TJ, or two, hasn't been in one that was set up properly. I have wheeled this thing all over Arkansas, Colorado, Utah, driven it thousands of miles on the interstate to get to those destinations. And this thing is great. It handles well. It rides well. Now, is it as comfortable as a Toyota 4Runner? No, it's not going to be as comfortable as a rig with independent front suspension. I mean, that's just a fact. But the fact that it is a solid axle front and rear vehicle, this is very comfortable. I have never been in a situation where I thought this thing is uncomfortable to drive long distances in. Now, like I said, is a 4Runner going to be more comfortable? Yes. But does that mean this is uncomfortable? No. Let's talk about number three. It's actually very reliable. I know. That goes against everything you've ever heard about Jeeps. But this thing has been fantastic. I've got 120,000 miles on it, and it has never left me stranded. The only issue that I've had to take this thing into the shop for is a gasket leak around the oil filter housing and leaking antifreeze. That is the only thing that I've had to take this thing into the shop. And I could have fixed that myself. I just couldn't figure out what it was. No other issues. Aside from normal maintenance, ball joints, they're going to go bad on everything. Wheel hub assemblies, they're going to go bad on everything. If you watch our Colorado videos, in the first one, you'll notice that the Tacoma in the group had the wheel hub issues on that trip. A few days later, my Jeep had wheel hub issues. It's going to happen no matter what vehicle it is. Every single vehicle that you drive, be it a Toyota, a Chevy, a Ford, a Jeep, a Land Rover, it's going to have maintenance issues. Normal parts are going to wear out. After 120,000 miles, this rig has been fantastic. Will it last me 250,000 miles? I don't know. I hope so. I think so. Any rig will do well if you take care of it. Now, I change the oil on this about every 4,000 miles, rotate the tires every 4,000 miles, change the air filter every 4,000 miles, change the diff fluids twice a year. You know, I put the time into maintaining this vehicle because I need it to last me. And I think that's going to be true of any. If you've watched my videos, the number one vehicle that breaks down on our trips is a 5th gen Toyota 4Runner. I know, blasphemy, I know, but it's true. We've had more issues with 4Runners on our trips than we have any other vehicle. For what it's worth, I think the 2012 and up Jeep Wranglers with the 3.6 Finistar engines are very reliable. And reason number four, why I prefer the Overland and the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon, it's just so much fun. I mean, the ability to go anywhere. I mean, you just feel like you're driving a piece of American history. I know that's dumb and cliche-ish, but you just kind of get that feeling from it. It's a very simple machine, and I love it. And there is no other vehicle that I've owned or driven that it is much fun to wheel and to drive and to go out and explore in as this is. And until the Bronco comes out, there is no other vehicle that can do this. This is awesome! If you have never wheeled in a topless and doorless Jeep Wrangler, you are missing out on life. This right here will bring out the inner child in you. It is so much fun. This makes driving just through town so much more exciting, being in a naked Jeep. This is one of the biggest things I love about Jeep Wranglers. Now, the new Ford Bronco is about to come out, and yes, you will be able to do that in it. But until that happens, this is it. But the Ford Bronco will not have a solid front axle. So All those things about 4Runners apply to the Bronco in that. It's a 4Runner that can take the top and doors off. That's my summary of the Ford Bronco. But it's pretty awesome. But it's not this awesome. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for listening to me ramble on and on about my Jeep and why I love this thing so much. It is my favorite vehicle in the whole wide world. It's my dream vehicle, and I love it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions about my Jeep or anything else in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff that helps us out. Really appreciate your support of the channel, and y'all have a great day.